So we see that all things work together for good. We see his definition of good. The definition of good is the things that conform us into the image of Jesus. The things that are most good, the things are good. He's working everything that are good, that he would sanctify us and conform us into the image of his son Jesus. Now, let's dissect that a little bit, because everybody, no one would turn down a raise. All right, yeah, raise. Give me a raise. That's great. But here's the thing. A raise could be good or could be bad, right? If you get a raise at work and it leads you to glory to God, and it's going to lead you to do more work for his kingdom or give glory to him or steward your family in such a way that it pushes them into Christ, then it's great. But if that raise causes you to be greedy, causes you to miss, you make poor financial decisions that puts your family in a world of hurt, that causes you to step away from God and not into him, then is that raise good? No, it's not. Then it would not be good. And so we can't qualify every single instance in our life as good or bad. We have to begin to look at things like, okay, how is this making me more like Jesus? So when you get a job, you say, a raise, you say, okay, great. How is this making me like Jesus? When you lose your job, you say, okay, how is this conforming me into the image of his son, making me like Jesus? When you have a birth of a child, the sanctification that comes from that, right? He takes out all of our impurities when you become a father, right? It's like all the selfishness. You just thought you were selfish, and then you had a kid, right? And he's like, no, you're even more selfish than you thought, right? Okay, well, what about a death? Okay, Jesus, how is this making me more like you? So you can't qualify events just because they lead to a joyous moment as good or bad. You have to begin looking at all of life, all the things of your life as, how's this making me like Jesus? Because that is what is good. That's how Paul is defining good in this passage. So anything that makes you more like Jesus is ultimately good. Now, I want you to notice he says all things. All things. All things include suffering and weakness. All things include getting a raise, losing a job. All things, birth, death, driving a Caddy or a 72 Beetle, right? All things. Tornadoes, tsunamis, earthquakes, all things, right? Every single thing in our life, right? Your morning commute to work, right? All things, right? Nickelback and boy bands. You're like, oh, if the Lord would just smite them. It's like Sodom and Gomorrah, just Nickelback. In lieu of coal, Santa's giving Nickelback CDs, right? All things work together for our good. He says all things. Now, let me walk you through another piece of that, because this promise covers everything. Hear me, even our sin. Now, let me be very clear with you. Sin is not good. Sin does not bring honor and glory to God. Sin is the antithesis of who God is. God hates sin. Sin brings for us pain and consequences. Sin for us kills and destroys. Sin is our enemy, and it ruins us. Right? Sin, you have a porn addiction, it completely gives your wife a distrust in you. It completely ruins your family and your intimacy in your marriage. Sin. Infidelity crushes and ruins lives. Doing your money your way instead of God's way puts you in all kind of financial stresses. That is sin. It's not good. It's not good. It's not honoring to God. But the promise here is so encouraging, because it means that no matter what we have done, no matter what we are doing or will do, we cannot thwart or mess up the plans of God. We cannot mess up the plans of God and the promises of God. And His plan and His promise for the believer is to sanctify you, make you like Jesus, and to glorify you with him in heaven forever. And if you are, in fact, called and saved by him, you can't do anything to mess that up. You can't thwart that plan.